We are back here, front office U. It's not a Friday segment here. It's actually a special segment. We have one of our past guests that we had, actually one of the most viewed, actually the most viewed, if you are looking at the stats there. Greg Pai here with my co-host Ryan. Before we get to Greg, Ryan, how's everything going today? I know you're off season. You're kind of just relaxing, taking in the sun.
Yeah, no, doing great, Victor. Fired up. Like you said, bringing back on past guests was something that we were really interested in doing this year. So, what better way to do that than to bring on, one of the best guests we've had in the 4 year history of our podcast. So, really excited to catch up again with Greg here today.
Absolutely, and ironically, with four, it's obviously a big number too for Greg there. But with further ado, we're here with Greg Pie. Greg, obviously, how's everything going since we last talked? And talk to us what exciting things you have going on right now.
Guys, it's good to be home. It's good to be back on. I really appreciate it. Ryan, this is the first time that we got to meet each other. We were talking a little bit offline, and I've known Victor now for what, 2 years? Um, we're doing well over here. The sun is shining in Pittsburgh, and I cannot complain about that. So, all good things.
Glad to hear that, man. And yeah, it's great always to be able to have people, from the past back on. And obviously a lot can change in 4 years and 2 years and last couple months and everything. But I've obviously followed your kind of your passion and everything through the sports industry, and now you're getting the opportunity to start your new adventure here. I would love to hear about how that is obviously going on, and what the story is behind it, because I am all for it. I am very fired up and I'm excited to watch you grow, my man.
Cool. No, I appreciate it, brother. So taking a few steps back, I had a career in the sports management business for about, I'd say, close to 10 years, if not 10 years. I worked in ticket sales for multiple teams on the baseball side. I worked in corporate partnerships for several firms, and most recently was the director of corporate partnerships for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds of the USL Championship Soccer League. And I loved my time there. Good things sometimes come to an end, and we decided to part ways actually a year ago. And I wanted to stay in Pittsburgh. I'm from New Jersey originally, but I wanted to stay in Pittsburgh, and I wanted to stay in the sports business in some capacity. I have a full time job that's outside of the industry, but I was thinking about how do I parlay my corporate partnerships experience and sponsorship into doing something on my own. And this really stems from 2016, I would say. I was living in Nashville and working for the Nashville Sounds as a premium sales account executive on the ticketing side. And I lived in Midtown. And I noticed that at the time, the homeless community was struggling, in that area. And especially when you're in Midtown. I don't know how it is right now, but it's painful to see people, not having the ability to pick themselves up in some cases and whatnot, and you want to try to do something to help those people. So I visited New Jersey at one point during that time period, and my grandfather, my papa, God bless him, he passed away in 2018, but at that time, he started to wear a red jacket closer to the springtime. And I used to sit there and I'd be like, do you really need that? And, it was this thing. It was like a signature thing. There's actually a photo of him and I grew up a diehard Red Sox fan because of him. I know we talked about this before on the last podcast, Victor. And we're pointing at the logo, and I'm actually looking at some seats from Fenway Park that are in my apartment right now. That's how big of a fan I am. But he used to wear that red jacket, and I started thinking one day, like, I want to help people out. And the whole jacket thing was kind of put on the back burner for several years. And then, of course, the Riverhounds and we parted ways about a year ago. And I started thinking, I was like, those people back then who didn't have the opportunity to have a red coat in the wintertime, my grandfather had one in the springtime. And what if I create my own sponsorship agency, boutique style, and do something in an effort to make some money on the side, but help these people out in some capacity. So my lucky number is 5. It's always my grandfather. So May 5th, 2025, 5/5/25, I will be launching Red Coat. It is a boutique sponsorship agency for athletes, entertainers, musicians, and a portion of every deal that we cut, a portion of every piece of merchandise that we flip is going to go to the homeless community in some capacity. I'm fired up about it. I have a really good group of people around me from all across the country that are coming together because, they're good people first and foremost, but they want to support a good cause while also supporting me and as a side hustle and whatnot. And I'm really excited to launch this thing and get back into the corporate partnerships or sponsorship world in some capacity.
A lot to digest there, man. It's exciting. And like you said, it came back from a story back in 2016, kind of just looking around and seeing where, homelessness unfortunately still obviously exists now. And each year it gets even harder to see people. I mean, I'm in Seattle. I know Ryan's obviously kind of been all around the world. Obviously, Greg, you've been kind of all around the world as well. And you see it everywhere. It's not just specifically Nashville, New York, Boston, whatever the case is. And I think it's really important, like you said, too. It starts with obviously trying to give back to the community and being able to do that on the partnership side. Obviously, you have a lot of experience and have been really good at connecting with people. And we talked about that as well. Like, how huge is it to be connected with the right people and have a solid team? Because I know for our podcast, when we add people on or whatever the direction we look at, we always have to make sure we trust in the people that are around us, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, Victor, I would say that building relationships is not just my passion, but it's the way to get anywhere in life. Everything that you do in life is sales. It doesn't matter what it is. But when I say sales, there's a difference between being a tacky salesperson and building a relationship from a genuine place in your heart with another individual. That's done by listening more than you talk. When I came out of college, I had multiple jobs and some were outside of the sports business and whatnot. And I've recommended this before in the past, to some of your listeners. Don't be afraid if you're coming out of college to if you can't find a job in the sports industry just yet because of how competitive it is, don't be afraid to build, those connections or that talent up somewhere else and then try to break in at another point. Actually, the director of marketing, I believe he's still she's VP now. Ryan Schaefer over at the Riverhounds had a career in another industry for like over 10 years and finally broke into the sports business a couple years ago. I think that building relationships is a great place to start. Have a LinkedIn page at the very bare minimum. But get out and get out of your apartment. My mom used to always say, you're never going to meet anybody by sitting on your couch. And I love sitting on my couch. I'm doing it right now. I call it Club Couch. Okay. But I try to get out on the weekends and meet new people and I network my butt off. Like it's very important to do that. And it's never too early to start doing that either.
I like how you said you can't meet anyone on the couch. I will say I did meet someone on the couch when I was playing Xbox, and they did work in the NHL. So besides that one person, obviously, I gotta get out of there. You gotta obviously break out your comfort zone, like you said in sales too. Like there's a different strategy for everyone when they come to selling. Like you can sell just to sell, or you can sell for a purpose and a reason. And obviously, that's how you have been so successful and have been able to connect with people. And before I pass it to Ryan here, you also were a star of like a reality TV show or right around those lines. So I'd love to hear more about that because obviously not surprised, but I just want to hear kind of more about that side of you.
I don't know if I was a star. I was on the show. I was in February of 23. My mom sent me an application. She was in New Jersey and I'm in Pittsburgh, of course. And she was like, "There's this new reality show that's coming to Pittsburgh. You should apply to be on it." And I was like, "I'm not going to get picked for that." I was like, "I would love to do something like that. I'm a single dude. Like, it might be cool to go on a show like that and meet, the love of your life or whatever." And I sent in an application, and I was about to walk into a meeting at the Riverhounds like a month later, and I got a phone call. It said Hearst Television and a New York number. And, "Hi, this is Therese from very local. We saw your your application come across. You have a couple minutes to talk, and that ended up leading to an audition and whatnot, and it changed my life tremendously. I was on a show called Local Love. It was a great show to to start off on in that world, and I went on a blind date with a girl. I was one of three guys that got to go on a curated date, and I didn't know this girl at all, and it was very cool. Like, she's awesome. I still talk to her to this day, and we actually have a pretty big group of people from the season, the Pittsburgh season. They've been in Boston, Kansas City. It streams on very local. You can get on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. You can get it on your phone. It's free. Um, but we have a big group of people from the season, and we do all sorts of get-togethers. Some of my friends from it have charities that we support. There was recently a reality TV basketball game. We had people from Squid Game, Survivor, The Challenge, Amazing Race, Love Is Blind, you name it. They were probably here in Pittsburgh. They flew in, they drove in, and my buddy, his foundation, raised over $40,000 for that. So I got to play in that version of the soccer version of that in October, and let's just say I'm a little shorter than TJ Stukes at 6'8" from Squid Game. So I thought I was going to get trampled. TJ, if you're listening to this, I appreciate you.
That's awesome. Look at that reality, maybe not, you said star, but still like a great experience. And it shows that, like, hey, the only way you can get noticed is by trying and putting yourself out there. And you've done that throughout your career as well. And I think it's funny too, like, you have everyone brought together to one point, and that's what you're trying to do, obviously, with your, red coat and pushing it forward there. But I'll pass it to Ryan here, talk more about kind of like the sponsorship side and, like, obviously it's not something that, you thought about it a while ago, but how big of a transition was it when it came to, like, all right, I got to do this. How are you going to kind of reach out, and, like, how did that kind of, pass on? I'll pass over to Ryan here to kind of discuss that for you.
Yeah, appreciate that, Victor. Yeah, awesome to hear really about this whole initiative you have going on here, Greg, as it relates to Red Jackets 4 and the Red Code and everything that relates to that, and an awesome story as it kind of ties into your passion for helping out other people in general as it relates to the homeless community in this context, and obviously that personal tie-in with your grandfather. So you've touched on just kind of your passion for being involved with sports, growing up a big Red Sox fan, having worked in baseball, having worked in soccer as well, but also kind of branching out into kind of entertainment and musicians in terms of getting them involved in this with the sponsorships and getting them involved. So what are some of the challenges that you've kind of run into so far? Obviously, it's very early on, but in terms of things that you kind of hope to see it launch and grow as we kind of release on, 5/5/25, that kind of key date. What are some of the things that you've kind of run across so far, and getting that buy-in from other people in entertainment too?
I appreciate that, Ryan. I think the buy-in has been there. People see the vision. It's kind of like pitching a new practice facility and selling sponsorship in that. You have the renderings, but you don't have the infrastructure up just yet. I have certain people that are working on certain things. I think the toughest thing on that end is I've tried to start businesses in the past and other industries and to no not much success, but I was much younger. It's just a matter of kind of like refreshing myself, and I've had a whole life in sports since I was in college when I tried to start my own clothing company, and I didn't realize at the time, like, you got to invest some money into this thing. The same thing goes with this. I mean, a lot of it is I need to be out there. I need to be networking constantly, but I also, need to be talking to the people that I know already and picking their brains and whatnot, and maybe doing things a little bit differently that I'm accustomed to. I'm very fortunate. I want to give a shout out to Brad Lambert in particular. He is in the entertainment space. He's been on Robert Downey Jr.'s team. He's been part of the Marvel universe. I met him because he's from Pittsburgh, and I shared a drone shot of Highmark Stadium where the Riverhounds play, and he just happened to see it on Twitter, or it was maybe Instagram, and we just started connecting. And I took the initiative because I saw he was doing public speaking at certain universities and whatnot, to be like, hey, do you have 20 minutes to talk on the phone? we ended up spending more than 20 minutes talking. And this is while I was with the Riverhounds, and we hit it off. We ended up becoming good buddies. He's helped me through a lot of things, any challenges that come my way. So, putting yourself in someone else's shoes who's been successful at doing things like this before, he's represented people and whatnot, especially through TikTok. Just being incredibly open-minded. I wouldn't say it's a challenge, but it's definitely something. If you want your business to be successful in any capacity, my gut tells me 9 times out of 10, or actually 10 times out of 10, you have to be willing to listen more than you actually talk. So I've had good people come into my life over the past couple of years, and I thank the Riverhounds for that. The people in Pittsburgh for introducing me to. This is a great city to network in, even as a New Yorker. It's such an ecosystem here of people, and everybody knows somebody. Just a matter of just getting out there, listening to people, and then communicating as well. But just putting myself out there. Again, it's not really a challenge, but it takes effort, and you got to do it. And there are people here to help you out, but they can only do so much. It's your business, right. So everything you do is also a reflection of you, and just staying consistent.
Yeah, I love that answer. And I think one thing that you've kind of hit on at different points in the podcast here today has been just the impact of social media as well. You've touched on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn as kind of powerful means to be able to share this with others and see it grow. And obviously, you're trying to make the largest impact on, the homeless communities. So the more people that are kind of exposed to it, the better. But there is also kind of that side strategy of, more goes into it than just, hitting a send or post button to make that happen. So would love for you to just be able to kind of share just the impact that social media is going to be able to have on this, and how you're kind of doing it behind the scenes to have it all come together.
I was talking to a guy who's maybe like 45 years old. I've known him for a couple of years. We were just hanging out at Permane Brothers around the corner from here. Shout out Angel, one of my good friends that works there. And he was saying he was talking about how social media is such a bad thing. I think in this day and age, it could go either way, right? I don't get connected with people like Brad without it, but at the same time, how much is real and how much is false? So I think it's a balance. I am more of a fan of it than not. As anyone who probably follows me on Instagram knows, I post a lot on my story. If I'm feeling something, I say it. As much as I say I listen more than I talk, like I do talk a lot. And it has allowed me to get into different circles and connect with different people and whatnot that I would have never met otherwise. Even when I went on the show, the Riverhounds shared out a whole post like wishing me luck, and the fans got to see it to the point that I had fans at the Riverhounds that are coming up to me like, I'm excited to watch, the episode and the season, and now it connected people. My mom even, she wasn't on Instagram or social media at all until maybe a couple months ago. And now she's sharing reels with me that she thinks are funny. So we're communicating. Like, I talk to her all the time, but we're communicating more. I do see the cons to it, but I mean, there's no way in heck that I get to talk to Victor the first time around without social media. So I'm definitely more of a fan of it. I plan on fully utilizing it, starting this thing up and into its existence.
Yeah, I love to hear about that. There is obviously a lot of good that can come out of it. Obviously, I think, it's easy to kind of highlight the negatives and things that, people kind of hit on as it relates to social media. But, if you just kind of flip that mindset and say, hey, how can I use this for good? How can I reach more people? It can be a very powerful, media source for you to be able to channel that. And the other aspect I wanted for you to kind of touch on in a little bit more depth, Greg, is just kind of how all these sponsorships that kind of come together with different people that are interested in supporting it kind of goes to the homeless community in some capacity, one way or another. So we'd love for you to just kind of share a little bit about kind of your vision for that. How do you hope to kind of disperse that amongst different communities and different, resources within that community, and just kind of what your vision kind of looks like for where this thing could end up going, if it starts to pick up some steam here, as this year kind of comes along.
For sure. So I plan on. So this is my thing. I don't have anyone on just yet because it hasn't even. It's going to be announced here soon. Once I do announce it, I plan on talking to certain people. I have people that I'm going to go to first. And these are people I would never bring someone on board. One, if they're not willing to be part of what I'm trying to do, fully invested, but also like be a good person. Like want to give more than you receive. And yeah, part of it is they're receiving we're killing three birds with one stone. They're going to be making money as a client of mine. I'm going to be making a little bit of money, and then a portion goes back to that community. It also goes that way for the sponsors as well. You want to align your brand, whether it's just starting or you've been in business for forever, with people who have the same kind of you got to be on the same wavelength. Basically, it's a relationship, and the best partnerships that I've ever worked on in the past, it was a two-way street, and sometimes I had to give up more, but I wanted to because it made them happy and it made me happy seeing them happy. So, um, you know, I think also you need to. I've said this to Victor in the past on the last podcast. You need to know the business better than the business that you're reaching out to knows itself. In the sense of, like, when you have that initial call with a decision maker, a CMO or a brand manager, like, what are they doing in the marketplace? How are they moving and shaking? And what do you have, as a representative of Red Coat that could benefit these people? I plan on when I onboard somebody to fully go through a list of brands that might make sense for them, but they're the ones giving me the list. I might have a recommendation, but then this way we can use that as a starting point. Like, what means something to you? Do you have a pet? And we can potentially work with somebody. Oh, maybe they even support the homeless community in some capacity already. So I need to know those things. The people that I represent need to know those things. And we need to be constantly communicating with these brands and whatnot. I've had great relationships with brands in the past. I plan on going to some of them. I've already gone to a few of them, and they love what we're trying to do. So yeah, I mean, I'm ready to get the engine kind of going, but that's kind of my big picture thought of how I see all of this going. I already know how to get in touch with certain people. I just need to make it all make sense for those people, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, obviously, building relationships has been a strength of yours. And I'm glad how you said it earlier, like everything is sales. I think that was always kind of my big takeaway. And, gaining any kind of business experience that, how you communicate, how you treat people, that has a lasting impact a lot longer than just, the specific instance and why you guys are communicating in the first place. So that's obviously something that you've done a really good job of in your career, Greg, and is going to be a driving force in what kind of takes this thing, and makes it, a little bit bigger than, just a simple donation or a simple sponsorship that you're able to create as
I
well.
want people, I want people to feel like they're part of something. So like even on the merchandise side of what what we're going to be doing, shout out to people, Forever Ever, Dion Baker, based out of Arizona, who's partnered with the Arizona Coyotes in the past. He has his own brand, yeah, called Forever Ever. And the Zeds brothers in the south side of Pittsburgh, they have a vintage, thrift, Pittsburgh sports, clothing store. They sell kicks. And they have their own merchandise. They've been in my ear quite a bit about how to properly, handle the merch and whatnot. They know what I'm trying to do. I want what we do to be relatable and digestible for people. So and I want, like, if I'm representing a musician, like, I want them to be able to wear this stuff on stage potentially, or bring it on tour with them, or just be in some sort of light. I don't want it to just be like an advertisement. What we're going to do is create something and we've already started mocking things up, and the logo, of course, is done. I want people to be something that you can wear out or you want to wear out and whatnot. Maybe more on the simple side, not as much of a designer look, but it's gonna bring a lot of people together. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for Victor and I, we can't wait to get our hands on some of that merch as well. So we're super fired up about it. So with that, though, I'll send it back over to Victor. I know he's going to ask a few more questions of his own here as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, big merch guy. Wear anything minus the stuff I have to wear for work. Not a big fan of the apparel that we have at Enterprise, but that's neither here or there. We want to talk about Greg here. So you talked about like the logo, and I think that's something that obviously is very important. We haven't seen the final touch per se, but like when it comes to a logo, obviously it picture says 1,000 words, right, or a million words, whatever you want to say. What's the, kind of give us a preview when it comes to just like what your idea is thinking when it comes to just like having that logo, and obviously it's a huge impact for you, your grandfather, all of essentially wherever you go. But I'm just curious on that aspect as well as like, are you going to be trying to do events too with with what you're doing? And I'd be curious on like what kind of ideas you have for that, just because like you said, it's going out there, obviously trying to align with the right businesses and such to make that partnership work and excel it.
Yeah, that's a great question, Victor. So like it goes back to the people also that I'll be representing, like potentially what is something that they would wear, and what is something that I would wear too, or anyone. It's definitely going to skew more towards a younger demographic. I'm very inspired by again, Forever Ever, Dion Baker. He would classify his brand as a luxury streetwear brand. He has athletes that wear his stuff and they tag themselves in pictures with it, and he posts on his Instagram, going back to social media. So I'm very inspired by all of that. I'm actually wearing his hat right now. And the Zeds guys are the reason why I actually kind of met Dion was because I was friends with the Zeds guys through the partnership that we had at the Riverhounds, and I was going in and buying, Nike like Jordans and just like sweatshirts, and they have their own line of clothing too. And They happen to be selling the Forever Ever gear merch, the hat that I'm wearing right now. I have a few of them in their store. So they have like 30 something thousand followers for this little store. Like they do a lot of content. I would say I'm very inspired by both. So the logo is going to play off of that as well. I had someone intentionally who was in college do it because I wanted to get a feel of like what would someone from that age demographic want to wear. Um, Everything that I'm doing is very intentional, and there's a lot of thought that's going into it, and there's a lot of inspiration as well from others. So it's tough to describe the logo. There will, of course, be a red coat, red jacket in it. It'd be kind of weird if there wasn't. But it will be in tribute to my grandfather, and a lot of other grandparents that are out there that anyone who's listening to misses with all of their heart.
I think it's incredible. And like you said there too, it's like even buying merchandise that you didn't fully know like where it came from or what, following it has. And you talked about social media. Obviously, you and I, there's no chance we'd meet if there's no social media, around unless I obviously drove to watch a River Rounds game, which would have been tough for me. Just a lot of driving in general. But you also talked about just the social media aspect, obviously pros and cons. But for you, as well as for any brand, it's very important nowadays when you see NIL deals and everything that social media has a big presence there. I'm curious your take on TikTok. Obviously, a lot of, I've never really explored that area. We haven't explored that in front office you, but I heard there's obviously a ton of great opportunities there, partnerships come up with that. But are you going to be behind the scenes doing TikTok? Like, what were we looking at for that for when it comes to that?
I do have an account. I use it, so I kind of use it. I was using it more so closer to football season. I was very inspired by a couple things, and they actually got really good engagement. I went to my first ever Pittsburgh wedding, which anyone from Pittsburgh that's watching this, I had no idea what a cookie table was until I went to this wedding, and it's the most amazing thing ever. So, well, what I did was basically a cookie table is like a table where everyone brings some sort of cookies or candy or whatever, and you go home with like a bag of just junk, like good junk, and like a week's worth of junk. Um, I saw it and I took a video of like the dance floor, and I did a couple of things. One, there was what was it? Renegade by Styx, which of course is a Steeler favorite. You have to play that at a Pittsburgh wedding, so that played. I took a video of that, and it got really good engagement. I had no followers or anything. I was just tagging the right hashtags in it, and then I did another one about the cookie table, and then I did another one. I walked in Pittsburgh. We have like our supermarkets, as I would call them, being from Jersey, are called market districts, and what they do here during the football season is around all of the the handles on the refrigerator items and all of that, um, they put a terrible towel on each one and they tie it. So I was like, "Tell me you live in Pittsburgh without telling me you live in Pittsburgh," and that one like blew up for having no followers. I did a few like is it soda or is it pop? Like because here they call it pop and back home they call it soda. So I think it's a good thing if you use it the right way. It goes back to balance. I love good comedy on all those platforms. Some a little bit more edgier than others. But I think that if things are done tastefully, it's a benefit, and it goes back to like what these people prefer. Like my buddy David, he has 1 million followers across all of his platforms, but Instagram. And if I had to guess, he probably uses Instagram the most. He's close to it, but yeah, I mean, it depends on what they're going towards. But that's where I need to be on my A game and understand what these things are capable of, these platforms, and be able to talk about it, represent this individual, and in front of a brand that has dealt with multiple probably influencers and whatnot, and getting on the same page. So it's about. I think it's a good thing, but you need to know what you're talking about, and people can sniff out lies very quickly. So
Yeah, that's why I'm not on there. I'd be lying too much. They'd definitely be sniffing and sending me DMs and asking crazy questions and stuff. So I think that's it's important. It's cool what you said too. It's like you have to make sure you kind of tag the right hashtags and stuff that I think us on our podcast we try to tag the right things. I feel like I tag great stuff, and next it's like 4 likes. You're like, all right, probably have to look back at the footage and retrack some of those hashtags that weren't working. And it's different on every platform, which I find very fascinating. So you're always able to learn. And like you said too, is like you're constantly learning. You got to figure out kind of how the market's set up as well as just know what you're doing. And before we kind of wrap up here, I'm just curious on like where your envision you see for year one. And then, 5 year plan. They always ask us, what's your 5 year plan? So I'm going to hit you with that question at the end here. But like, what's your 5 year plan for, starting from year 1 to 5? What's the goal for you?
I know good things take time, and I have no expectations year one. I expect things of myself in terms of like fully being invested into this thing in multiple respects. I see in 5 years being in a situation where I've been working with good people. Merchandise is moving, and people are benefiting from it. Like I said, I do know it's going to take time. Anything good is going to take that time, and I'm going to be networking my butt off for the next couple of years, and at least, and getting this thing going, and I just see myself because I know myself very well. I used to not, now I do. I see myself really being proud of something. I see myself representing my grandfather and myself in the right way, and giving back, and then also, working hard and making some money on this, doing this as well, and just doing what I love. I said this on the last podcast, but I'll bring it back up. I started working in baseball for a team called the Rockland Boulders at the time. Now the New York Boulders. They were in the Can-Am League. Now it's the Frontier League. It's an MLB affiliate league. But I started off like, if you ask me why I wanted to work in sports, I said because I love sports. And anyone who's listening to this right now, if you're interviewing anywhere in the sports industry, do not say that it's because you love sports. I will drill that into your head. These are businesses. I eventually realized that, and now it's shifted to I'm passionate about people and I love building relationships. I just happen to have one of the coolest jobs when I walk into a room, and we can talk about the game last night. You know what I mean? It was an evolution over 10 years of getting to that point, but I'm ready to just keep building those relationships and see that 5 years later. That's when I know I'll be proud of myself, and hopefully I've helped a couple people along the way.
I agree with saying don't just say you love sports. I was in an interview with a sports team, and someone said that, and I knew right away that they're gonna have to pack their bags and try for a different organization. They didn't get the job, so you are correct. There's still yet to see someone who has gotten a job when they say that they love sports. But like I said, I love what you're doing. Ryan and I are both, fired up just to see on 5/5/25. I know I'll have my notifications on and ready, and representing your grandfather as well as other grandparents around the world as well. Just the homelessness is just so awesome, man. And in Seattle, I can't wait to see what you obviously do where you're at. But hopefully this thing expands. And like you said, it takes time. We've done this podcast for 4 years. We're still growing, still learning, still trying to figure out what's going on there.
You guys are the best in the business. You guys have great people on from all over the country and from every walk of life, and you do a great job of bringing, the community together. Like we were talking offline, like this is the sports industry. Just because I'm not fully on the team side right now or anything like that, it doesn't mean like I spent 10 years of my life in it. Like I know people, and I'm very proud of that time. I worked my butt off. Like I worked hard, and that doesn't just go away. And the fact that you have this platform, you guys have multiple people that are hosts on it as well. I mean, and you guys aren't even in the same location. Like you guys are the best in the business. And the moment that you were like, yeah, let's have you back on. Like I was really excited to do this. Like I appreciate what you guys do 100%. If any of you want to network with me, you see my name clearly, on your Spotify or wherever you're listening from. Feel free to reach out to me. Even on Instagram, my personal handle, it's public. It's letter G, P as in Paul, A as in Alpha, I as in Ink, and then the number 5. I post, related content, sports industry and whatnot, and personal stuff when, I did the show and whatnot. But if you want to follow Red Coat, I have the handle Red Jackets with an S and then the number 4 as in for others, but it's the number 4. So Red Jackets number 4. And we can connect that way too. I'll follow you right back.
Awesome. Perfect. Follow Greg. Enjoy his journey and everything. And like I said, we're honored to have back on. Again, thanks, Greg, for being on the podcast here. And like I said, we're gonna do what we can to help you grow as well. So just let us know what we can do. And obviously we're excited, we're fired up, and we'll be back here next Front Office U episode.